Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, and welcome to our show. Today we discuss about freelancing and how you can create your courses to earn good money. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Nick. Janetakis, how are you?
Doing good. Nice job on the last name. Close. Janetakis.
Yeah, sorry man, I need to practice a little bit more, so after the podcast I'll do it. Before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you decided to share with us about freelancing and online courses.
Sure. First up, thanks a lot for having me. Happy to be on. And yeah, so I got started with web development all the way back in the late 1990s. Like this is, ancient times where, I don't know, do you know the site GeoCities by any chance?
No.
Okay. It used to be a really popular site back in the day for just getting a site up and running. But anyways, like the super condensed version of it, I got really interested in making websites for different video games that I was interested at the time. And right after graduating high school, I just took basically a gap year and went straight into freelancing right after that. Because I don't know, it was one of those things where you just find something that you really like, you fall in love with it. And like, you just know, like, I don't want to like down anyone who's going to university and stuff. Like I just knew what I wanted to do. So yeah, I just got started with freelancing right away. If you want to get into gory technical details, like after that, I just started working with PHP, which is a programming language back then, for quite some time. Eventually got introduced to other languages like Python and Ruby. I do a lot of Ruby on Rails, Python, Flask, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of what I'm doing current day. I'm giving you like the super condensed version of this. I don't know if you want to get into more details on the tech stuff, but yeah, that's where I am current day. And starting in about 2015 is when I started to create courses for the first time. So I don't know if you want to ask some questions before I keep going on, but it's up to you.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about freelancing. Can you tell where to start, for example, from your experience? Because I see when freelancers spend some time, fail, and give up. I know from my personal experience, because my first company, I started from freelancing, just and I got it. That's hard to compete with prominent freelancers who have ratings, feedback, a portfolio. But if you start from scratch, it's hard, but it's possible. So can you tell what to do? Because if I register on Upwork, Fiverr, any other platforms, I will compete with people who have this experience. And most companies order and cooperate with people with portfolio, including me. So let know your methods how to jump in freelancing field when you have no experience, anything.
Sure. So, I mean, the times are a little bit different now versus like the early 2000s, but I think everything I did early on, you could do the same thing pretty much nowadays as well. It's even easier nowadays. I didn't start with anything like no website, no business cards, no like, formal business plan. It was more just everything local. So, I was a teenager, I had a bicycle. I literally rode around my neighborhood and found people, didn't find people, but, you see these work vans come sometimes in suburbs where maybe they're doing like roofing and, other small businesses, or you approach these small businesses just one-on-one. So I was just striking up conversations with folks, just super casually, like literally, like some dude doing some roof job. Like I'd ask him, can I speak to the owner of the company, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, just basically, it is a different thing than just sitting online, I guess, and, putting yourself on one of those platform sites. Because like you say, you're just going to put yourself in a scenario where there's going to be a million other people trying to do the same thing. And it's going to be very hard to break into that. So I think like just starting locally in your neighborhood, even, it's you can't go wrong with that, I don't think.
Yeah, let me share my experience, how I did it. I found that I can't compete with many prominent freelancers, but I found almost all of them don't spend time with their customers. They usually spend like 50 minutes, 10 minutes, or send templates. Okay, please consider my offer. I can provide great results. And I found that I can change the approach with personalization and sharing more my time. For example, I got it. If I tell my customer, okay, let's take a call, let's schedule a meeting, and I can share more about that. I spent like a few hours without any payments to explain what we can do, how to change, and that way I got like $200, my first payment, in freelancing, and not bad, from scratch. And yeah, I think, guys, if you wanna achieve results, you need to find your unique selling proposition. So if you have your USP, you can overcome competitors with personalization, spend more time. During some time, of course, I couldn't spend an hour for free, right now, because many other things to do. I have. It's not only about freelancing, but you need to be patient, and to provide more insights than your competitors have. Okay, Nick, let's talk about your freelancing. Can you tell how to increase payments? Because for example, it's hard to start from scratch, to charge a lot without any experience. But can you tell your way how you increase payments by providing the service?
Yeah, just to rewind real quick about what you said around just like engaging with people in a way that they're probably not going to get that experience with a bigger company. That's really like very insightful, and I follow the same thing, and I think it leads into this type of question too, because yeah, you have to be very patient. So sometimes maybe you'll work for someone early on for less than what you would like, but you're going to build up a lot of trust with that person, so that maybe you do like a very simple like redesign website thing, and like you say, you get like $200-300 or something like that. But that could lead to a future thing with that client where suddenly they may come at you with a business need where it's like, well, I kind of need this like custom thing built. Is that something you're able to do? And suddenly that turns into maybe a $2,000 or $3,000 contract or a $20,000 contract. But I mean, I think you're asking generally like, how do I go from charging $15 an hour to $200 an hour or something like that? And it's, I don't know, I forget exact people who say these things, but like whatever you think you should be charging, like double it, right? That's like the cliche answer or something like that. But you just need to be, you need to be comfortable trying different things out. I wouldn't, because what's the worst scenario? Like they say no, and then you just move on to the next one. So, and most people you'll find like, if you just propose like, okay, I want to ask for $50 an hour or something like that. A business person is probably not just going to, tell you to like, screw off and that's it. Like there'll be some, negotiation around that. So I wouldn't feel too bad about asking a little bit more.
Yeah, nice, good advice. Okay, let's talk about freelance platforms. Can you tell which platforms work for you and why do you use them?
Okay, I guess I will answer that with I don't use any of them. But yeah, there are certain platforms out there that I feel like it's really hard to get into, because nowadays, especially, you're on that platform and there's going to be 400,000 other people trying to race to the bottom, kind of almost, where it's like, unless you end up being on that platform and become like, a superstar with 1 million reviews, it's very hard for people to find you in a world like that, in my opinion, I think. So yeah, I am not involved with, I guess Upwork is the main one potentially. There's some other ones as well. I just completely bypassed using them. And yeah, I just started locally around my network, finding small businesses. Eventually in mid 2010s, I started a blog, and that's kind of where things got to the point where they are now.
Nice. I agree with your approach, because if you stand out from the rest, if you don't replicate others, you don't need to compete with them. You can oversmart many of them. Okay, let's talk about your approach more. Can you share details? For example, how you started locally, how you could find customers by providing the service locally?
So again, like sort of different times. So back then, like CSS was barely a thing, and we were just approaching, I guess, the aftermath of the .com bubble, but people still wanted websites and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, just locally, I mean, depending on where you live, I mean, I live in New York for reference, but I don't live in New York City. I just live in a suburb area. So there's a lot of like small businesses all over the place. I can draw a 5-mile radius around where I am, and there's like, hundreds of businesses there. So depending on where you live, like, I would just start literally approaching every single one of those businesses. Now, again, it's harder because people know more about the internet and stuff. So instead of maybe a pool of 100 people needing a site out of them, like maybe only 10 of them need that. But if you get a couple of them, that at least, gets your foot in the door. But I mean, like absolute, like fine-grained details, like literally just approaching people, ask them a little bit about their business, do they have some type of web presence, just get to know them. And like, I mean, this is going to come down to personal preference, but I've never been like trying to hard sell people. It's not like I went like door to door and just knocking on their door and be like, by the way, like I have websites to sell you or stuff like that. It's more just getting to know them a little bit better first.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about your unique selling proposition. I think almost all companies, they check out a few propositions before choosing one. And can you tell what benefits you have if you compare to other companies, freelancers who can provide totally the same services?
Okay. So let's say you're in a scenario where it's me versus like 10 other people or something. How would I differentiate myself versus the 10 others? I mean, this is going to sound, it's weird to even talk about things like that, but like I have not even looked for a client now in probably like 6 years. And right now people just email me and then it's like, okay, this sounds like a good fit. Let's do it up. And like, it's already done. But I understand like you can't get to that point from day one. So yeah. I mean, I really loved that one thing that you said earlier around just like creating personal relationships. That is a big thing because if people feel like, you have their back and you're on their side, then they will trust you to do these things. And I mean, so the personal approach of like, I wouldn't see as just working by yourself as a liability. That's a benefit because I'm sure we've all experienced this, right? Where these companies get bigger and bigger and bigger and like support gets worse and worse and worse. It's like very hard to even talk to a human for a lot of companies. And like you get some autoresponder, they copy paste to your message. Like, yeah, you work for me, then you get like a personal experience.
I want to ask a question about your background. I see musical instrument, guitar on your background. Can you tell, is it your hobby and why you have this guitar on your background?
Yeah. So I just casually play the guitar a bit. Not as much nowadays as I used to, but I still pick it up once in a while.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking about that, I remember I decided to learn how to play guitar, and I give up for some time because probably that was not my passion. So yeah, I decided to I don't know, to surprise others, but I found it's better to pay attention to strong sides where you can spend more time. For example, if I write articles or I don't know, many other things, I love it. I can spend all my time. But if you do something because you want to surprise others, no way, it's not a good idea. Okay, let's talk about online courses. Why you decided to switch your attention to online courses, and what is the main reason was to create online courses?
Yeah, that's a funny one. Like, it sounds crazy, but like one day I just woke up and, well, let me preface that with a little bit. I did see quite a few people who were having success creating online courses. There were platforms like udemy.com and some other ones where I'm like, whoa. And I don't know, I don't want to talk too much about Udemy because I actually don't really use them anymore. But yeah, there was all these scenarios where people were selling like $200 courses and they had like, 50 to 100,000 people signing up. I'm like, my God, this is like a way to print money. Okay. Let me see if I can take what I've learned doing all this freelance work because I'm building these applications and things. Can I make a course around that one? I didn't know anything about video recording, nothing about audio, whatever. And, but I decided that I'm going to give this a fair shot. So I didn't even start using Udemy, but what I ended up doing was I just started a Kickstarter, and this is back in 2015. And I wanted to make a Flask course. So Flask is just a web framework written in Python. It's a programming language. People use it to build web applications, basically. I don't know if you want to get into more details on that, but yeah. So I made this really horrible Kickstarter video, put like just randomly, I'm like, okay, could I do this for X amount of money? Okay, $12,000 is what I put as the goal. I had no audience, nothing, not even a single person, not even a website. And I don't know, I got ridiculously lucky in that the whole entire campaign completely tanked for the 30 days that I put it up, except for the last day. On the last day, a single person, I will refer to him as the Australian businessman, funded my entire Kickstarter just by himself, basically, like 99% of it, because I did have a couple other folks who were involved, but that really got me thinking, like, man, like maybe there's a need for this type of thing. And yeah, from there, I literally in 3 months, like learned everything I could about creating videos and, trying to get a better audio setup, and just the idea of like taking something and just breaking it down into many like, course modules or sections or whatever. Yeah, I just learned that stuff on the fly and shipped the thing 3 months later. And yeah, after that, just started creating courses, more courses, keeping them updated, and then kind of just did the blogging stuff at the same time.
Yeah, Nick, I found that you don't like generic methods. You want to create something new, to change environment, to provide new insights. I love it. Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's talk about how have you learned about courses before creating them. I mean, like, what kind of research you did, and why, and how it can help you, to create courses that people want to buy.
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot of moving parts with like creating a course, right? First, it's like you got to figure out how to even do the mechanics, right? Like how do I learn video editing? But then there's also like what do I even make the course on? And then once you have the course idea, it's like, well, okay, that's cool. I have maybe a title or something. How do I even break that down into actually making a course? And well, I took it almost from like the inside out. So I've doing, a lot of freelance work, building these web applications, basically SaaS apps for some different companies, right? Like there's a billing model and users and they want to do blah, 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 blah. But I built so many of these for different clients where, okay, my course idea, the first one I did, it was like, can I build a SaaS app with Flask? That's like one of the courses that I have where we just like incrementally build up this application step by step. So like I already had the idea of the course just based on my small view of, these companies and clients and businesses are asking me to build this type of thing. Could other people benefit if I like turn that into a course? So it was almost like the real world component came first and the course came after. Like I didn't try to just like sit there and invent a course idea. It came from like, I know this is what people want. They're paying me to do this. Like, can I scale this out to now where maybe some other folks can learn how to build this on their own? Not the businesses themselves, but maybe the developers who are also freelancers, perhaps.
Yeah, interesting. So you made all this job like editing videos yourself, fixing audio, and many other stuff.
Yeah, all that I just do completely on my own.
Interesting. Yeah, because I often get the question. Even one time I got an interview invite, and to share my methods of editing videos, and I replied to them, guys, I know nothing about that, really, because I have a team, great team who can create these awesome video designs. So I usually pay more attention to my strong side where I can create, to share value. And I usually create files, send to my team, and they provide the rest, to create some video design that retains audience longer. So yeah, I love it. Okay, let's talk about your course. Can you share, for example, what kind of benefits can I get by learning from your course? And can you provide a solid reason for my audience who are looking for learning something new to get your course?
Okay. So I guess like I have a couple of courses. Like there's that build a SaaS app with Flask one. I also have another course, dive into Docker. And that one, it just learns Docker as a technology from ground zero. But yeah, I'm not really 100% on who your audience is, but if they are any type of software developer or engineer and, they just want to start learning how to build web applications and they like using Python as a programming language, Flask is a very, very popular web framework for that. And yeah, the course will just take you from ground zero, basically, of, how do I build web apps with Flask? So we cover like 50 or 60 or 70 different web development topics, like, creating users, like what do they do when they forget their passwords and, all sorts of different stuff, building components with Stripe, etc. And the Docker one is more just like fundamentals of learning about Docker and Docker Compose. I don't know if that's going to resonate any with your audience, but let me know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, guys, you can find the link to Nick profile in the description below. You can find these courses as well, so you can check out if it works for you. If you want to learn more about that, you can, take these courses and learn from them. We have the question about, can you reply to this question? It's like about seasonal working on freelancing. What do you think?
Right. So freelancers walk a tightrope as work can be seasonal at times. Okay. Yeah, because it is very, very feast or famine. There are some times where it's like nobody's contacting me. And then I wake up and there's like, 8 contacts over the last week. And now it's like, well, what do you do? Because part of the thing, at least if you're working by yourself as a freelancer, you're kind of trading your time, right? So it's very hard to outsource things in a way that, you can consistently break stuff up. So I don't really have any super great advice around that one in that. But I will say that when opportunity comes, like I tend to not turn that away. So even if it means working a little bit more one week, knowing full well that maybe in 2 months I might not work as much. I try to prepare myself for those times where, the famine is there. But it could lead to a very irregular lifestyle sometimes. Like sometimes I'm working for 8 hours a week, sometimes 20 hours a week for 3 months in a row. But then sometimes it's like, oh crap, like I have to do like 60 hours to do all this stuff. And you don't want to go too far overboard because then you're gonna maybe not burn out, but like you never want to make the client's work sacrifice because you were just overworked that week or you couldn't deliver or you're breaking promises.
I found on your LinkedIn profile that you've been a self-taught software developer for about 20 years. I like your greetings. Hi, I'm Nick. I've been a self-taught software developer about 20 years. Can you tell about how to learn yourself? I mean, like without courses, without online stuff or education. For example, if you have no mentor, how to learn yourself and make yourself to be an expert like you in one shiny day?
Okay. Yeah, I think that self-taught phrase is kind of like a loaded term because it's not like you're sitting in a room by yourself, like in a locked room where you just need to learn everything from ground zero. Like, yeah, you would definitely lean on the internet, right? Reading blog posts, watching YouTube videos now is a lot easier. But, back then, 20 years ago, Google wasn't even a thing. There was like, search engines were barely coming about. So like, I don't know if it's like just a generational thing, but like back then it was much harder to find information. So you were much more prone to experience and experiment things on your own. Like at best, you might just have the documentation for programming language locally stored, and that's it. So, but nowadays, you've got everything at your fingertips, right? There's like a million different courses you can watch. It's almost like the opposite problem where there's like almost too many sources. Like, if there's like 55 different courses on Python, which one do you take? Because you don't want to take all of them because it's going to be like 5,000 hours of time. But yeah, I would say do not be afraid at all to experiment. Like when it comes to programming stuff or, creating courses or starting a podcast, whatever the heck you want to do, like you got to be very comfortable just doing it. Like you need to read about it and research and learn things, but like doing it, I find at least is the most beneficial thing ever. So oftentimes I like to do it, learn as I go. Maybe I'm doing things incorrectly, but they work. And then afterwards, I will go and like read a book or, watch some videos or learn about the best practices after I've gotten some experience on my own. I find that helps me the best to kind of like meld these things together.
Nika, I have the question about your, your ratio between learning and acting. Because, for example, I can buy 100 courses, books, to read 1,000 articles about, web development, Python, many other stuff. But if I do nothing, I'm not sure that I can get any results with that. Can you tell your method? For example, if you learn something new, how or your ratio, for example, how you spend time between learning and actually acting, because you told that you need to implement, you need to test, experiment. Tell about insights about that.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if this is like an official phrase that's used by anyone, but like I like to classify this as like question-driven development, where it is very much like you have a very tiny direct problem right in front of you right now, and then you answer that question and you implement it right away. So the feedback loop of learning and implementing is like as short as it can possibly be. And I mean, it could be something like, if you were just starting to create video courses, like this is literally what I did, right? Like I didn't research like, oh, what video editor should I use and all this other stuff before the Kickstarter and stuff. Like, no, I started learning that stuff literally like on the fly, on the spot. So like my first question there was like, okay, which video editing tool should I use? I answered that question. And then it was like, okay, how do I import videos to this tool? Oh, I just drag and drop it. Okay. And, you end up with like 50 million tiny little microscopic problems as you go for the direct thing that you're trying to solve right now. And I find this to be great because it like gets rid of all forms of procrastination and stuff because, yeah, I don't know. It's such a funny thing to feel to be in, right? Because it's really entertaining to sit there and watch like an 8-hour course and just like passively listen to it, maybe at 2x speed, 1x speed, whatever, but you don't apply any of it. But like at the same time, you feel like you get a lot of value from that because it's like, well, yeah, I'm learning stuff, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, for me, like that feedback loop needs to be almost immediate. Like try something or read something and then try it immediately after based on an actual problem I have right now. So yeah. That's kind of how I approach that.
Nice. I have the question about, let me continue with your LinkedIn profile. Over the years, you worked as a consultant doing contract work for various clients. while also hacking away at my projects because it's what I love to do. So, can you share how you can, I don't know, like, for example, I have my own projects as well, but I still cooperate with many clients to help them. Tell about your projects and how you can find time between clients and your projects.
Right. So most of my projects there are just related to just open source tools that I have up on GitHub. So GitHub is social platform for coders to put their code up, and people can contribute to them and learn about them and use them and stuff. But yeah, so I've got like, I don't know, like 30 or 40 assorted little projects that I put up there. And yeah, my profile there is just github.com/nickjj. It's linked on my main site, but not important to go there and look at those things. But yeah, that's what those were. They weren't like custom businesses I was trying to run so much on the side. I mean, you can make a case that maybe selling courses is a custom project, but yeah, a lot of those other ones are just little things like, you do some work for some freelancers, some clients, and you do some programming things, and you extract out these little patterns that you can then potentially make open source. You're not selling business secrets. It's like very general stuff. So usually that, that part of the LinkedIn profile you're looking at, that was in regards to that one. And those are little things that I just do on my own time, kind of.
Nice. Okay, Nick, I have the question about, for example, I found a study that, by the way, I consider this data a lot, that, it costs 5 times less to acquire new customer than retaining old one. So, for example, if you have customers, it's better to retain them because you pay 5 times more for this marketing to get new customers. And you shared on LinkedIn that you cooperated and worked with many big clients, various clients. Can you tell your methods of retaining customers longer? What kind of benefits can you provide them better than your competitors, other freelancers, companies, and just methods how you to retain longer?
Yeah, so just in general, absolutely fully agreed. Like if you can keep one client around for a long time, it's just much better for everyone involved. Like you sort of have consistency to your stuff, and you're not out there like, yeah, part of being a freelancer, like there's multiple components, right? There's you actually doing the work, but then there's also like, well, how do you find people to even do the work for? So if you've got a whole bunch of different long-term clients, then that component of like trying to find new clients is, you should never ignore it because you never know with these things, but at least you don't need to focus on it like literally like every second. So yeah, I love the idea of having longer term clients. Like a lot of my clients were, just doing maybe 10 hours a week for quite a few different people. Or sometimes it's like, honestly, like you just hop on a call with someone for 2 hours a week, do some code reviews and get feedback on this and this and that. And, I've had clients like that where that went on for 6 years in a row.
Yeah. Interesting. I have the question about common mistakes. Can you list common mistakes that freelancers still do, and any tips how to find much better way?
Yeah. So it's funny with this stuff too, because a lot of times there's like a million different ways to solve this problem, and none of them might be wrong or right. Like somehow you just carve your own path and get there. But like, one thing I think is, in my opinion at least, like it's probably not a good idea to focus on like, oh no, before I even do anything, I need to have like a portfolio site. I need to have business cards. I need to have, all this other stuff. And because these are great things to like spend time on, because it's like, it's again, like you feel like hyper productive, like, oh, I'm doing things, but like the bottom line is like, how do I convert value to a business owner and get paid for that? And like making a business card doesn't help you with that, like immediately on day one type of stuff. I still don't even have business cards today. And it took me quite some time actually before I even started my own website. But you get these weird things like in your back of your mind, like you would think like, well, wait, like how is someone going to hire you if you have like no portfolio? Like that doesn't make sense. But like these people out there, business owners, right? They don't always like, it's hard. Like they're not a teacher. Like they're not going to ask you to prove your worth. Like I've only had a couple of clients in, over 20 years where, they were like, okay, can I see some of your previous work? That just really hasn't come up very often.
I love it, guys. You need to start. Don't care about something that you don't have, because all businesses, all people started from scratch. If you have no audience, if you have no portfolio, customers, just do what you like. So, and results will come for some time. You can use my method for example, to spend more time with customers, to tell them, to provide free consultancy. I did a lot of them. You can create content for your live channels. Just do what you like. That's it, and results will come. Nick, I have the question. For example, let's imagine you started from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills. What will you do today to learn more about freelancing?
Well, today is much different than 20 years ago. So today I would start by just Googling around for all sorts of different things. One, is this what I even want to do? But I still wouldn't start with a freelance platform today. I would just, Google and YouTube, basically. There's infinite knowledge out there, but I'd be careful, right? Just going back to what we said before, you don't want to get stuck in a loop where you just research things for a month straight. But you're allowed to research things at the beginning. You're at ground zero, barely starting, right? So spending a couple of days just slamming through 100 different videos or blog posts, nothing wrong with that to get an initial view of the land, and then just go from there. But I think it would be good as you're doing that to kind of formulate. You don't need to create a business plan, but at least some high level bullet points of what you want to do. Maybe set some short-term goals for yourself, right? I want to have my first client by 60 days from now or 45, whatever makes sense for your schedule. And that doesn't even need to be make money, right? Like you said earlier, sometimes you were doing these free consults with folks just to learn a little bit more about them and, get some experience. You could do that as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just be careful not to keep undervaluing yourself, right? You don't want to do everything for free or be afraid to charge what you think it might be worth.
Yeah. We have the question about Tatiana. Is this SEO optimization course? Not. Nick shares about his courses, but we have our SEO course. It's coming soon, so stay tuned to my channels. And I have the question about what kind of future can you see in freelancing? Because many things are coming, metaverse, augmented reality. I don't know how it looks, but what do you think? What kind of future will be? And is it a good idea today to start freelancing? Because of that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're on a live stream right now, and you've got headphones on. We've both got microphones. These things need to be created in the future. There's going to be businesses in the future. So basically, I don't think freelancing is ever going to go away. It's also a weird thing, there are ups and downs for freelancing, right? You've got more flexibility, but at the same time, you've got many different bosses instead of one, but you can choose at least what you want to work on. But I guess, without going on that side topic there, I don't think the demand for freelance stuff is going to go down because, there's just always new tech businesses being created, and there's always going to be folks out there or business owners out there who need someone to help them. And a lot of times, just hiring a freelancer to come in for 20 hours a week is a really, really big benefit to them because, at least in the US, right? The alternative to that is for them to hire a full-time employee. Then there's payrolls and W-2 and all this other stuff and health benefits and a million things. So from the business owner's perspective, just hiring you as a hired gun for, maybe a 3-month contract to solve a very specific problem, extremely valuable. And that's why I say that not to be too afraid about charging a little bit more because if you were there working full-time, they'd be paying probably a lot more than you think.
Yeah, and what I like to charge more because it's better to cooperate with a few contracts than trying to get 100 of them because you can't provide high quality job when you cover a lot of other companies who want to get your service. So it's better to pay attention and focus on a few, but charge more for them. From my experience, you can provide much better job. Love it. Nick,
so by the way, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm not too sure about your audience too. One last very quick thing around what would I do nowadays? I think nowadays one great thing is we have Discord channels, forums, this stuff is much more popular nowadays. So I would totally try to find a small community that you can just talk to other folks and you almost act as accountability partners and maybe you can help each other out. So I think, that could be a good way to go about it, even if you plan to kind of do your stuff mostly solo.
Can you tell practical tips how to find this small community, relevant community, and how do I know that if I spend time? Because for me, time is the biggest asset. I can't lose time. Okay, of course I can lose time, but if I lose money, I can get them back because failing is the part of the process. Failing only brings new experience and nothing else. So for me, it's hard to count how many times I failed. But I found it's better to optimize your time. And you mentioned it's to find some small communities. Can you tell practical tips how to find them and how to and what kind of actions do I need to provide on this community?
Right. Yeah, I guess there's two ways to go about this one. So I never went to college or university, but if you are going to that type of thing, like you're probably going to find all sorts of different people around you in your day to day where you can meet people locally there. That would be, it's right there at your fingertips. Yeah, online communities will be a little bit harder, I guess, but because I don't know of any, honestly, like right off the top of my head, but I would imagine if you just Googled around for like freelance web development communities, like you may be able to find some stuff. And if you're not doing web dev, you're doing something else, like maybe just alter your search terms to be around that. I'm sure there's going to be some forums or chat rooms around there.
Yeah, yeah. Just Google them. No, Google. By the way, we have them on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Discord. Yeah, many different channels. So yeah, and can you tell about content marketing? Do you use some content marketing methods, to create educational content, to help your audience, to create brand awareness? In your approaches.
Yeah, honestly, creating my blog 7 years ago was probably the best business decision I ever made because I don't do any paid advertising, zero. And it's also partly because, at least in my mind, at least as a software developer, my BS tolerance for advertising is extremely low. So like, I don't know, like paid ads for me, it feels like I wouldn't want to put that on my site. So yes, I do. Content marketing always feels also a little bit like sketchy type of thing. But yeah, I write blog posts providing as much value as I can. Oftentimes, like, I'm not trying to pitch something in that post. Like not every single post that I make is like, oh, buy my course at the end. It's like, no, here's a very specific problem. No strings attached. Like, I hope it helps you out. And that just tries to get people into your world. So maybe, they keep seeing blog posts by you in the future. Like maybe 2 months from now, when it's like, you know what? I kind of want to learn a little bit more about web development. Oh yeah, that guy, I keep like running into his blog post. He has a Flask course. Like, so it's very organic driven, I guess you can say. But yeah, just I've been creating weekly blog posts for like 7 years now, and yeah, almost every single client I've gotten came from that post or one post on there.
Can you tell how you find ideas for your blog? Because I see when people, companies, they have struggled to find some great ideas. But if you do this for 7 years, share your methods of finding ideas that people are interested in them.
Yeah, that's 7 years of weekly blog posts. I don't think I missed a single week, maybe 1 or 2, but it's very hard to think like, okay, so it's extremely counterintuitive in that it's like, my God, that's so many posts. Like, aren't you going to run out of ideas? But I feel like the thing that makes the ideas flow continuously is that I never sit down and think about what to write. What I end up doing is I extract what I'm going to write based on something like I'm actually doing. So if I'm doing some client work or just working on a project or something like that, there's always like in that week, multiple topics that I could make a blog post about. And then the ones that I don't make a blog post about, those go into my drafts folder. I've got like something crazy, like 840 draft posts, which are basically just a title. I didn't really flesh them out. But yeah, doing real world work will give you the content for you to post without you having to think about the content to post. And that's a very scary thing to think about because you're going to be like, no, but it can't work like that. It's impossible. I need to sit there for 100 hours and think of things. No, it will come out for sure, naturally. And in my opinion, those are the best blog posts to write because it's like, you've got this very specific problem that you're trying to solve. And then you walk through that whole thing in your blog post. Chances are there's going to be other people out there who have the same exact problem. They're going to search for it. They're going to find your post. And there you go. Like it comes back full circle.
Mm-hmm. I have the final question. By the way, not my question. Dimitar is asking, what about investing in your monetization network? Can you share your methods? Because for example, how you monetize your blog and any other tips how to monetize any, I don't know, like blog article ideas or anything about that.
Yeah, I would like to flip that around and actually ask you that question because I don't monetize any of my stuff with like, Google AdSense or whatever. Like I've got a YouTube channel. I ran a podcast for 2 years. I don't have advertising. I feel very like, it's like very icky for me to think about doing sponsored promotional things. I don't know. I can't get over that hurdle. Like I'd have to use a tool so long to personally believe that it'd be comfortable to share that with my audience. So honestly, like my blog if I'm going to promote anything, it's just going to be straight to my own courses, not external things. But I feel like I'm definitely missing out here. So I'd love to hear your opinion on, like, how can developers maybe specifically get more comfortable advertising things for other products, like on their own sites?
We have a bunch of platforms that can help to find, I don't know, companies who is interested, to cooperate with content creators, especially if you have a blog or a YouTube channel, audio podcast. But I didn't use them. I like your approaches that you usually find other ways. But I have some networking. And I built relationships with big companies like Ahrefs, Sreating, and when they check out my content, they tell me, okay, you are interested to have some partnership, sponsorship. Just in my network, I think it's better to spend some time to search for them, but for me, I have no this time. I'm so busy with many other tasks, so probably I'm missing some opportunities as well. But if someone from my networking is asking about this, why not? If I can earn extra money, I usually do it. I'm going to spend some time, but I don't know where to find this time. To find some new companies who wanna to get the sponsorship. Yeah, something like this. Okay, Nick, it's a big pleasure to get my show, to learn from you. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, buy your courses, read your blog, anything.
Sure. So my main site is nickjanetakis.com. That's NickJanetakis.com. That has links to all my courses and YouTube, whatever. If you want to check those things out, it's all there. So thanks a lot for having me. It was really fun.
Okay, guys, you can find all these links in the description below. Listen to us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. Welcome back anytime. Share more valuable insights. Guys, you need to follow Nick. You need to learn from him. You need to buy these courses because you can see a lot of value. Okay, guys, love you. See you.
See ya.